Hello and welcome to following on whether you're watching us on the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel, welcome, or listening to us on the Following On podcast feed. Hello, play has just finished. The players have just made their way from the field and it's Shoaib Bashir holding the ball aloft as he walks from the field with his very first fifer on home soil. It will not be his last. It's not his first fifer, of course. He did take one in India as well. What a performance from England. They've wrapped things up right at the end. But word for West Indies as well. They have brought a little bit of honour back to the region in terms of Test cricket. Not that they needed to. They, of course, beat Australia at the start of the year. But a finely contested Test match came to a swift conclusion late on day 4. Got lots to talk about. Myself, Jon Norman, Steve Harmison, you are either watching or listening to Following On. So, Harmy, brilliant stuff. First off, so much has been said about Jimmy Anderson making way. Gus Atkinson coming in. So much has been said about Ben Foakes making way. Jamie Smith coming in. And we've talked about those things. But not a lot has actually been said about the fact that Jack Leach has also made way. And it's Shoaib Bashir that's stepped in. We've talked about that decision. You've backed it. And you were part of the commentary team, talkSPORT commentary team in India. And you very, very quickly saw in Shoaib Bashir something you liked. You liked a lot. And we talked about how he bowled in first innings. He took a couple of wickets. And today, I tell you what, day 4 pitch, I mean, there's been a bit of turn on that pitch. Cavum Hodge and also Sinclair took wickets in first innings. But Shoaib Bashir, let's start with him because he has just bowled brilliantly well. He might even get player of the match. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, he has. I think the decision to leave Jack Leach out, I think that was probably the hardest of them all. I don't think Ben Foakes' decision was massively hard. I think everybody's seen that Ben Stokes wanted a wicketkeeper who could accelerate the run rate and bat. We've seen that last summer when they went for Johnny Bairstow after the injury. We've seen the decision to tap James Anderson on the shoulder. I think that was a difficult decision, but I think that was inevitable. It was coming. I don't think this was an easy decision to tap Jack Leach on the shoulder and say, we're moving on. Because if you remember how much Ben Stokes backed Jack Leach, but I think once we've seen Bashir in India, and I think a lot of people looked at his age, his release point, his height, from a height point of view, the amount of revolutions he gets on the ball, his energy in action. I think there was a hell of a lot of people going, oof, this ceiling level of this young man could be huge, and it could be very, very high. And I think what we've had, John, throughout this Test match, we've talked up the bowlers, and Merv Hughes made a great point, about Gus Atkinson. You look at he's still in the infancy of his career. We don't know what he's going to be when it comes to the Ashes in next winter. We don't know what Shoaib Bashir is going to be, but these games are so valuable. He bowled 23 overs in the first innings. And I said, in 2 years' time, he'd probably look, instead of going for 100 off them, 22 or 23, he would have maybe 4 or 5 maidens, and he would go for 70, maybe pick up an extra wicket. That's the evolvement of where his ceiling level could end up getting to. But what we've seen is on a very, very good Test pitch, a little bit more overseas conditions because of it. It's been warm at Trent Bridge most of the week. The surface has been very flat, not a great deal in it. Mark Woods bowled 98 mile an hour, and Jason Holder's played him very, very well for a large proportion of that game. Shoaib Bashir has got a pitch which turned, and he's come on. He's got 5 for 41 and bowled absolutely beautifully. The ball to get Holder was a beaut.
It was.
One that missed the off stump.
Yeah,
was through the gate. Was unbelievable. The TV's been showing Graham Swan through the gate to Ricky Ponting. I played my debut Test match when Michael Vaughan got Sachin Tendulkar. Perfect off spinner through the gate, drift. He's had control of the turn. He's had control of his pace. His lengths have been very, very good. Yes, he's bowled against a batting unit who, barring Craig Brathwaite and Jason Holder, you'd probably say the rest of them aren't probably at a Test match level. But take nothing away from the young man. I think he's been fantastic. And England as a unit in this test match, as a unit, because I think the West Indies have played their part. I think as a bowling unit, they've played a very, very strong test match. And then that was, like, I think Nasser said on commentary, I can't remember which coach he said, but said, you only have to bowl a team out once cheaply to win a test match. And England have played a very, very good test match with both bat, ball, field. Energy levels were fantastic. And icing on the cake is always your spin bowler. If your spin bowler wins you the game, takes the wickets, that finishes the game, I tell you what, you're on to something there, and you're on to an attack. Oh, we've got 2 or 3 fast lads. We've got Chris Woakes, who's getting better, because I thought his lengths were brilliant today.
Yeah.
And then the spin bowler. I tell you what, Brendan McCullum, Rob Key, and Ben Stokes will be 3 very, very happy men at the end of this test match, because their gambles, and I think they are gambles, rightly said, have paid off. And they are, I tell you what, they're probably paying off a lot quicker than they probably expected.
Yeah, I mean, really well said. And there's not a huge amount to add to that, but there were performances. And also, look, we're not going to get carried away, right? But of this test match, I mean, what I would take from it is almost how England went about things on day 2.
Yeah.
That was where they learned more on day 2. What they learned on day 2, we saw on day 4. Does that make sense? Do you know what I mean? And the reaction of Gus Atkinson to the Alzari Joseph wicket was special. The fact that Chris Woakes started all this off, because, of course, West Indies lost all 10 wickets inside 22 overs. In the 14th over, I was looking ahead to finishing maybe between lunch and tea tomorrow. I never considered that West Indies would win. And that was not something that, you cannot go from a Lord's Test where you get bowled out inside 90 overs in both innings to chasing down 385 runs on day 5, pretty much, against England in England. That doesn't happen, right? But England were being tested, and I just saw here at Trent Bridge just the signs of a new team that are enjoying each other's successes. Jamie Smith as well, he caught everything. So yeah, really good stuff. But also, what I think we should make mention of the fact is that at no point did West Indies ever give up. I mean, look at their bowl. England had Harry Brook past 100 and Joe Root advancing towards 100, which he would go on and get. 329 for 3. So a lead of about 280. And they kept going, West Indies. They kept going. And in the end, they took out the last 7 wickets for less than 100. And I think, and not just West Indies sides, visiting teams here in the past, considering the gulf between them and the fact they're 1-0 down in the series, they would have given up. England would have declared. They wouldn't have been bowled out. But England have been bowled out 3 times by this West Indies bowling lineup. And it's a West Indies bowling lineup that is still well short. Moti should have played ahead of Sinclair. Shamar Joseph is still well short of game time. Well short. Kemar Roach could have played. Jayden Seales, again, really, really good. Shows the benefit of playing some cricket in this country, right? But the way the West Indies kept going at it, I think was great to see.
Yeah, I think there'll be a lot of encouragement in that West Indies dressing room. I think game plans, I think they were very, very good. Look, I think let's be realistic. At the start of the series, we said it's going to be the batting unit that's going to let the West Indies down. And effectively, that's what's happened. Their bowlers were always going to bowl well.
Hang on. They did just hit 457.
Yeah, but they've been bowled out 3 times. They've been bowled out 3 times, so less than 150.
It was clear where the weakness was going to lie, wasn't it, for sure?
It was. But that would be encouraged by exactly what you've just said before. They never give in. And I think if, as much as I've just said, McCullum, Stokes and Key will be very, very pleased with the way England's gambles have performed. I think the West Indies hierarchy have got to be pretty buoyant about, we've got a group here that we could potentially build with. We've got a group here that have given everything they possibly can do to make sure that they're staying in test matches. And that's largely down to, I think, probably 5 cricketers who are at test match level. I think when you look at it, you look down the list, you look at Craig Brathwaite, is a proper test match player. So is Jason Holder as a proper Test match player. You look at Alzari Joseph, Seals, and Shamar Joseph. Then you look to think, the rest, Mikel Louis, who could be, he's got potential. So these are little, I think, learning curves and little building blocks that I think the West Indies have got, the hierarchy have got to look at the end of this trip and go, what, we might have beat 3-0. We might have got humiliated at Lords. We give a great fight at Trent Bridge, but in the days 3 and 4, the final session in each day, England's relentless and ruthlessness just got the better of us. But we've got something to build on, and I think I would be very, very encouraged if I was a West Indies supporter. It'll be interesting to hear what Michelle St. Patrick Hewitt says about it, probably on following on at the end of probably Birmingham when we'll get him on. I think there should be a lot of encouragement here because they didn't give in. And the sign of a good side, that great Australia side. I'm not putting England anywhere near this great Australian side. But what they did so many times, you competed with Australia for 3 days. You went toe-to-toe with 3 days. And then all of a sudden, because of the relentlessness of how good their batting unit was, how good Shane and Glenn McGrath were, they did you an end of day 3, start of day, end of day 4. And they just blew you away. And that early sign, England done it in this test series so far. And that is a good habit to get into. Go toe-to-toe with the team. And then when you get the moment when you feel as though the opposition are just teetering a little bit, just getting a little bit tired, making little mistakes, you ram home your advantage. And I think that's what England have done really well, especially in this test match because they were tested.
Ollie Pope has been named player of the match for his 121 in first innings, and he also hit a 15 second innings as well. So that would be good for him. Okay, let's look ahead to the third test match. Do you expect any changes from this England side?
I think Pennington has to play. I'd give Atkinson a rest. I think Gus has bowled really well so far in this 2 test matches. I'd give a break, get him ready for Old Trafford, and potentially see if he can get 2 out of him at the end of. I think I'd play Mark Wood. I probably wouldn't play Potts as much as you want to have a look at everybody. I'd maybe want to have a look at Pennington with Wood and Wokes and see how that dynamic works. But I think that would be the only change. I'd just take Gus out, put Pennington in, give him his debut, get a cap under his belt because he has got talent. He is going to play a lot of test matches in the future and see if he can fill that role of what Gus has done really well. If I can get Mark Wood through ice baths, recovery, and get him in a position to wheel him out again at Edgbaston with a view that he ain't going to play in the 100. If I had anything to do with it, I know he's not being picked up, but he ain't getting any injury replacements. He ain't playing the 100 if I had anything to do with it. And you get him ready for Old Trafford and try and get him through 2 of the test matches against Sri Lanka. So that would be my thinking of where England's at this minute in time. Their batting unit looks very, very strong. Crawley's had a day a week to forget. Not you get out for naught. This is what happens, and then getting run out backing up. I'm sure he'd be looking forward to getting to Edgbaston. The rest of the unit look brilliant. Joe's 100 again. He never got out of second gear, really, did he? He never really got out of second gear.
We couldn't think of a full shot.
Yeah, you're sick of seeing that. He's never got out of second gear. You look at the scoreboard and all of a sudden he's 30, 40, 50 and then on to 100. What's been said about Jimmy Anderson will be said about Joe Root, the greatest that we'll ever produce. He will go by Sir Alistair Cook. He'll get close to Sachin Tendulkar.
He's going to go past Brian Lara in the next test match, I think.
Well, to be honest, that says everything about
that says a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, it says everything about what we've got, and we should be thankful because we've just said goodbye to 2 of the greatest. Joe's closer to the end than he is to the start. I still think he's got a lot of cricket left in him. But how thankful are we to have somebody like Joe Root, because he is amazing. Not just is he an amazing person off the field and a great ambassador for the game in this country, but his performance on the field is magnificent. And when you've got Joe Root at one end, that must be unbelievable to bat with. And then you've got Harry Brook coming in. the up and coming.
I mean, imagine if the Athanasies and Kevan Hodges of this world had that. You know, that's a difference, a huge difference, isn't it? Imagine them having that kind of person to learn from.
It is.
Brilliant stuff, Army. Listen, you're going to be back with Neil Manthorp, either recording the show tomorrow or Tuesday, and then we will be back together at Edgbaston, won't we? You're going to be at the ground days 1 and 2?
I'm there days 1. I'm there days 1. I leave days 2, but I'll be there. I'll definitely be there, and we'll sort something out. I'm definitely there days 1 and 2. But we'll see what happens, because I think that another one, as much as they've been battered and bruised, they're getting better, the West Indies, and hopefully they'll pull the full 5 days together.
Yeah, it would be great if Moti could come back into the side, because he can bat and he can certainly bowl. And
they might play 2 spinners. They might play 2 spinners. So I don't think Sinclair bowled badly, and they might think if we have to rest the bowler, they might think about playing 2 spinners. I don't see them picking Jemiah Louis, who's obviously from Ashington, who plays for Ashington. I don't see them picking him. I don't see another batter getting in there. So if there is any of the teamers that need a refreshing, whether it's Seals, who's bowled a lot of overs this summer and he's bowled really well, or if Samra Joseph or Alzari Joseph needs a rest, it wouldn't surprise me if the men from the Caribbean play a second spinner and just bring Moti in as well. He strengthens their batting as well.
We shall see. Harley, thanks for your time. I'll see you in Birmingham. Thanks for watching us here on the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel, or listening via the following on podcast feed.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app, and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.